Hi, and welcome to episode 27 of The Party Line. This podcast was recorded on Aboriginal land, and we stand in solidarity with our Indigenous brothers and sisters in their struggle against racism and capitalism.
Riding out the party line.
Hi, Jordan.
Hello.
So, what we're doing in this episode is we're going to have an interview later on with Jerome Small.
Yep, and Omar will be joining us.
And Omar will be joining us for that. So, if people listened last week, Jerome is the cool, legendary construction worker socialist, and he was involved in the protests against Pauline Hanson back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a few stories for us, a few newspaper
clippings.
Well, it's like the whole paper.
Yeah, it's the whole front page. They're really sick.
It's so cool. I studied a history degree at Melbourne Uni.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things you have to do for that to graduate is like, what the fuck is it called? I actually don't remember. Whatever, it's called something.
Look at newspapers.
No, it's like you have to do like a research project and you're not allowed to just write an essay. You have to like do some form of whatever the fuck. Anyways, the thing that I chose to do was the Jabiluka, like protests against the Jabiluka mine.
Sick.
And I think I would have failed it without Jerome, because Jerome just had like boxes upon boxes of like archival material from the Jabiluka campaign, including like faxes between him and Gary Foley, like
Holy shit.
arguing about what should happen in the campaign.
That's
and stuff
incredible.
like that. Pretty cool.
That's mad.
So another shout out for the Party Line Live that we're doing on the 1st of March.
Mm-hmm.
People can get their tickets in the bio.
Yep, and come along. Yep, so it'll be in our bio this time, we promise, and it'll be in the show notes.
Right.
I don't promise because we might forget that bit.
No, we're going to put it in.
Okay.
We're going to put it in.
Sure.
And then I also want to do a shout out at the beginning of the episode to some of the people who help us create this podcast. So Charlie is our wonderful video and audio editor. And then Perse helps to make the shorts and clips and stuff like that we put up. And then we also have a new person helping us out with the podcast at the moment, Charlotte Tavan, who I'm calling our content editor.
Yeah, I like it.
What do you think? Is that a good title?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
She's helping us find stuff. Because one of the reasons why Shah is helping us do this is because she gets frustrated because we get things factually wrong sometimes.
And by we, it's never me. I just do want the record to state that.
Whoa. Never?
Never. Well, it's probably been me, but we haven't picked up on it yet. I remember.
Well, maybe me and Omar are just more honest when we get things
True,
wrong.
definitely. But probably. But in episode 25 now.
Receipts.
What was it? We had a correction about something, and then also we talked about Barry Cassidy and Paul Barry.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, we were talking about Barry Cassidy, I think.
Yeah.
We were like,
back-to-back
the
Barrys.
Media Watch guy, and then you guys are like, no, that's Paul Barry from Media Watch. And then Owen Cosgrove, our counsellor in Bendigo, messaged me on Twitter being like, actually, Barry Cassidy did host Media Watch ages ago.
So you were right.
Yep, great.
I don't remember Barry Cassidy doing it, just Paul Barry. But
to be fair, I probably only remembered Paul Barry doing it and just made a mistake that was correct.
So there's a lot going on in the world at the moment. We wanted to do a whole section about what was going on in Iran at the moment, because Trump is literally just like sending every fucking warship and like plane fighter jet.
Yeah, bigger than the deployment in initially in Iraq.
Yeah.
Wild.
So I think that's something to watch out for. We had a big segment planned about Iran, but unfortunately Omar had to go pick up his baby.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And so we were going too long. So we'll probably talk about that in the coming episodes. Hopefully we don't have to do and I say hopefully because if, something big happens, we'll probably do like a special episode about it. But I'm sort of hoping against imperial
I hope that
confrontation.
doesn't happen. Yeah.
But one of the biggest things happening in the world right now,
I don't know where we're going with this,
is former Prince Andrew.
Oh, yeah. Massive. Huge.
Has been, was arrested and was he charged with misconduct in public office?
I think so. I reckon to be arrested, they charge
But
him.
it's like the thing that they get him for is misconduct, like sharing state secrets, not like being a massive sexual pedophile
all the
creep.
other stuff has just been like, okay, we won't arrest this man.
But my favourite headline out of this whole affair, because there was obviously the excellent picture.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Charlie, if
So
you're listening,
good.
you could put the picture up just here. But the headline that I found was from the fucking Sydney Morning Herald. The archaic law threatening a former prince with life in prison. It's like, why do they sound sad about it?
Like, oh, won't somebody think about this poor fucking pedophile prince? Like, he's just hard done by this really ancient law. Like, fuck off.
Fuck off. So that was my gripe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, fair.
And then the question of wealth comes up again and again.
Mhm.
This is from the Financial Times. 6 Wall Street bank chiefs bring in combined pay of $250 million in 2025.
Yeah, 6 people. Just 6. But that is... Like, I literally... I'm trying to imagine earning $40 million.
It's just too hard.
Yeah.
But talking about the super rich, you know Alex Karp, the Palantir CEO?
Yeah, he's been, like, I just keep seeing... like clips of him on Twitter saying the most outrageous shit all the time.
Yeah. And so I feel mad mainly because like Palantir's like a Lord of the Rings thing.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, you know, a fucking sorry, we're just recording in here. For the listeners, we record this podcast in the back room of the Activist Centre on Sydney Road.
It's like a cupboard.
It's an office.
Yeah, it to be fair, it's not a cupboard because it has a cupboard.
It has a cupboard.
But it feels like a cupboard.
And sometimes we get interruptions from people, you know, doing
actually
good work.
doing stuff.
So, but back to Alex Karp. So Palantir is like a tech company that's just involved with like murdering people.
Yes, I mean that's the job, like self-admittedly by Alex.
So we've got a few clips here from Alex sort of talking about how much he loves being a tech boss that kills people.
You often need a lower purpose. Like the higher purpose for me...
What's a lower purpose?
Well, I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
So he wants to use his drone, lace it with fentanyl urine.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
What the fuck? Like that's just like he's thought about that. That man's thought about doing that.
And then there was another clip that came up. I actually don't have the right one in front of me, but he said it was like they were doing what are they called? Like not investors, but like shareholder. They were doing a shareholder meeting.
Yeah.
It was like any last questions for Alex or whatever, or any last comments from Alex. And he had this thing that he said, he's talking about how much he loves working with the American government to make them a strong institution. And then talking about what they're doing.
Dedicated our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. And we love our success in the U.S. and globally. Also, you know, we are doing in the United Kingdom and many other places. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. And we hope you're in favor of that. We hope you're enjoying being a partner, and we're really happy and very, very focused on what we're doing.
Incredible.
Really happy and focused on killing people.
I mean, it's making you a lot of money, all of you in this room, so it would make sense. We hope you're happy about that. But I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's this guy or if it was another evil weapons company that was like, we kill communists or something like that. Do you remember that?
No.
I'll find it. Or someone else will probably find it because I probably made it up, but it accidentally might be true.
Well, yeah. And one of the things I think about is, I mean, during the Holocaust, it was the tech companies that were actually really important to ensuring the Holocaust happened. Like IBM made the system to figure out how many Jewish people they were holding in the concentration camps.
Yeah, and then various other pharmaceutical companies and whatever, just like today.
Like Bayer Pharmaceuticals was really involved.
Well, they made the Zyklon B that was used in the gas chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like time and time again, these massive companies, they do everything they can to produce huge amounts of profits. And that means literally furnishing these regimes with the weapons that they need to murder and kill people.
Totally.
Like you think about all of the weapons companies that have gotten huge returns out of the war on Gaza, the genocide that's taking place in Gaza right now. Like,
yeah, and it's not just these companies as well. Where like Australia is profiting from the profit that those companies are generating. Like our investment in Australia's future fund, our investment in what's that company? Elbit has increased 470% since October 7.
Yeah.
And that is because it is a really profitable investment at the moment because they're getting so much money from, I guess the Israeli government, but as well as, evil countries and corporations all around the world. And we are just making money from that as a country.
But one of the things that's been cool is like some of the workers who have like refused to be part of some of this stuff. So a few years ago, there was a big strike that took place in, I think, the Google headquarters because
the one in Ireland?
No, in America.
Okay.
And it was a big protest because these workers were being told basically to do the same thing as IBM had been doing, but in the Nazi regime, but for like illegal immigrants
in
remember America.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're not fucking doing this. So it sort of shows you like the capacity for people to be like,
fuck yeah.
Yeah, to disrupt the war machine that's being built. Well, the other thing from The Guardian that's come out is that Trump officials plan to build a 5,000 person military base in Gaza.
It's just like, it gets more and more like dystopian and Orwellian, like this board of peace shit and all that kind of stuff. Like, Jesus Christ.
One of the things about the board of peace is that like a wealth transfer is going on at the moment to line sort of Trump's pockets.
Yeah.
Because they're taking money out of like other, things like the United Nations or whatever, putting it into the board of peace. And then they're getting money from other countries who have to pay like $1 billion or whatever it is to be on the board of peace.
Totally. And like the constitution of the board of peace is not like, the American president is the chair of the board of peace. It's
Trump.
Donald Trump.
But
like,
then,
forever.
Their plan for what's going on in Gaza, I mean, we talked about it with Jasmine Duff the other week, but, a 5,000 person military base, which presumably will have American troops in it, but then also the neighborhoods that they're building that are just going to be, they want them to be luxury apartments.
Yeah. I mean, there's I guess we can see it in the West Bank at the moment. Like they just want to do the same thing, but with even more and more expensive properties to make heaps of money from. Incredible.
Yeah. Well, you found this one. This is from across the pond in New Zealand.
Yeah, so this was like yesterday or the day before. The right-wing, I guess, government over there has just announced that they have introduced laws that will... I'm going to read the title of the article. The article says, Government defends homeless move-on orders as opposition slams them for being cruel, which I guess they are cruel. That's not the main issue with the laws. They've introduced these laws that are actually, let me play the clip because he says exactly what they're doing.
And so we'll be amending the Summary Offences Act to provide police with the power to issue move-on orders for people who display disorderly, disruptive, threatening or intimidation behaviour, obstructing or impeding somebody entering a business, breaching the peace, all forms of begging, rough sleeping, and behaviour indicating an intent to inhabit a public place. And those people, if you have a move-on order, will be specified for an area, particular time for up to 24 hours, and it will require a person to move on a reasonable distance away from the area as specified by the constable.
Yeah, so it goes on to say it's a $3,000 offence if you disobey the move on order or 3 months imprisonment.
Oh my God.
And then the first reporter's question is, where will they go?
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? Like,
so they're criminalising homelessness. But then the other thing, if you listen to the way that he describes the move on order, obstructing a business, stopping people from entering a business, that sounds a lot like a protest or a picket.
That was the exact thing that I was picking up on as well, because everyone talking about this is just saying like, oh, it's cruel or whatever, which it is. It is objectively cruel, and it's like, you know, an attack on the working class for, you know, I guess criminalizing poverty and like putting people in prison for poverty and stuff. But this is also like, there's a more insidious aspect of it as well. It's not more insidious, it's just also insidious, I guess, which is, you know, outlawing striking workers from picketing their like their place of employment, or people protesting, you know, perhaps as a company they're making weapons for genocide and things like that, like allowing New Zealand police officers to imprison those people for 3 months. It is, it's incredibly anti-protest and anti-poverty and like begging, criminalizing begging, like fuck off.
Totally.
It's just evil.
Well, the other thing that's been happening, sort of coming back to Australia a bit, is that there's been a big discussion about the so-called ISIS brides, which, can I say, is just such a dehumanizing way of talking about people. ISIS brides. Like, what the fuck? But so the headline from ABC News, this article by Patricia Karvelis, Albanese changes tune on immigration and ISIS brides as One Nation effect hits. And so what Patricia Karvelis is arguing in this article is that one of the impacts of the sort of meteoric rise of Pauline Hanson. One is the collapse in their coalition vote, but the other thing is just the general way where Labor will shift to and incorporate right-wing talking points as a way of like trying to not bleed votes to Hanson, or as a way of appealing to Hanson voters. And so with the so-called ISIS bride issue, you've got people here who were trafficked or, you know, tricked, or children that were just born in refugee camps who are being used as like, so real life human beings that are being used as this fucking political football. And the government's decided, oh, well, things are moving to the right now, so fuck these people. Might
as well go there with them.
Yeah. And so they're saying that I think Albanese's quote is like, we are not in contact with them. We will not be in contact with them. And if
we'll not be providing any assistance.
Yeah. So these people are just being left to languish in a refugee camp because the government is like, oh, don't want to lose any votes to Hanson.
Yeah, it's pathetic. Like yeah, we talk a lot about, I guess, in the next bit about how Labor won't ever challenge kind of these far right talking points and whatever, and it's true. But the thing is, like, when the Liberals, when One Nation kind of present this argument, like they either just don't challenge it or they somehow like go along with it in a slightly different capitalist direction, which again we'll talk about as well. But it's like if Labor, and it's to make sure that they don't upset, you know, those voters that might vote for them and whatever. They probably focus group that fucking response, which is disgusting to think about, but I can imagine them doing it. But it's not like a, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot what the actual thing I was trying to say. Yeah, I don't know. It's just embarrassing. It's not like the they're capitulating to the Liberals, to the National Party, to One Nation, when they would never do that back to them. Like, no one ever thinks, like, One Nation is not there thinking, I wonder what the average Labor voter reckons if I say this. Like, they're just like, nah, fuck off. I'm going to say what I think, and it's going to be absolutely atrocious. Yeah. And the Labor Party is just like kneecapping themselves to these evil ghouls.
So yeah, like you're right, like Coalition has been pushing, and this has been like a big thing that Hanson's been going on about.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but there's another cohort of ISIS brides and the children on their way back to Australia. Oh, at the moment it's been put on hold because the passports haven't come through. So anyway, the government can stop it if they wanted to under the temporary exclusion order. So what are they doing about it? They're saying, oh, it's not up to us. But it's the government that has to provide the passports for them to come in the country.
It's just like, so this video is on YouTube Shorts. It's got 11,000 likes. It's probably got more on TikTok and Instagram. But it's just like Hanson is just sort of like outrage mongering and just sort of pushing all of this fucking racist talking points.
Yeah, and that like the media is giving her a free pass to just do this. Like, this is absolutely her terrain. It just reminds me of like, again, we talk about it a little bit in the interview with Jerome, but it reminds me of like the media just going around Thomas Sewell and like being like, what do you reckon?
Yeah,
mate?
totally.
Like, that's just like, oh, fuck this person.
So, yeah, I think like the ISIS bride stuff is just like really a reflection of how rightwards things are shifting and the way that Labor are just going to offer absolutely no, opposition to anything that's going on.
Yeah, less than no. They're going to like move in that direction.
And then so one thing, as a sort of segue into the interview with Jerome about fighting Hanson, people would have seen that Pauline Hanson made the claim that there are no good Muslims, and people try and say that she put like people try and say that she made a partial apology. She's not apologetic about this.
Yeah, what do you mean?
The thing that she said was, people are just not used to politicians speaking the truth. So here's what she says.
Out there. Well, I'm sorry. How can you tell me there are good Muslims? If jihad is ever called, and people must understand this, go and research, go and understand about this, and the ones that will suffer, as those Jews did on that, when they were murdered and slaughtered. Pauline, and that's what we've got to realise could happen.
So there's no good Muslims. Yeah. How can you tell me there's any good Muslims? So this is just like beyond belief. But I think that part of the thing that it relates to is the real problem in any of the sort of discussion and discourse about this, like the idea that there are good and bad. Like, because the argument is to be a so-called good Muslim or a good minority is you have to, love Australia. Yeah. You have to pay it. It's just, it puts, what about like, no one ever says they should be good Australians or something like that. Like,
it's ridiculous. Like this standard that's applied to migrants versus like someone who's just not white here. Who's white here. It's fucked.
So like this like sort of liberal talking point about like you need to be a good or you need to be a bad or whatever.
Yeah, assimilate or die or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just fucked. Also on this note, I've been thinking about this for a bit. Has anyone noticed the fucking portrait in Pauline Hanson's office that she sits in front of? Have you seen it before?
No.
Check it out. Like,
can you describe for our viewers what's going on here?
Pauline Hanson's office, the one where she, had the steak dinner on the sandwich press with Barnaby Joyce. Like, there's a photo in the background behind her desk of herself. Like, it's a painting. It's like an oil painting of herself. But there's like Mao is in the background of it.
That is really
what the fuck? I mean, like,
odd.
I don't know if it's Mao, but like
has anyone like done a deep dive investigation into this?
I don't know. Like that's gotta, isn't that? What is that?
Listeners, if you know why Pauline Hanson has a portrait with Mao in it, please let us know.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's all I could think about now whenever I see her for some reason.
Riding out the party line.
Hi, welcome back, Jerome.
Great to be here again.
Long time no see.
You wore the same shirt as you wore the other day.
No, it's my very special podcast shirt.
Yeah. Actually,
all of us. You're wearing the same shirt as well.
Same ensemble. Okay. Must be Fashion Week. Okay.
But
we're actually sponsored by Estee Lauder and
I actually wish we fucking were. Imagine if we were, we'd have such nice clothes. I'd have a watch. Notice how I don't have a watch?
I don't think watches. What's the point of a watch now?
Well, you just like, it's like a...
You have your phone. Anyway, come on, we got to get through this. I got to leave, guys. I got to leave.
Omar's done the thing again where he has a train he has to catch.
Indeed.
So we're going to talk about this. Actually, there's actually a little joke I can make, but it would just take time. So, Jerome, the reason why we wanted you to come onto the pod is because Pauline Hanson is just going crazy in the polls at the moment. And you were actually involved in the campaign against Hanson in the 90s.
Yeah, I was. And we were pretty effective, actually. And we played a really big role in putting her back in her box. Should I just launch into that?
No, not yet.
I was there, man.
All I know is that it was in Dandenong, and I grew up in Dandenong, and I didn't participate. So I'm very sad. I think I would have been like 10 years old.
I can't believe you didn't go, Omar.
There was a lot of young people at that Dandenong protest. There's like 3 generations of especially South Asian families, like with the young kids chucking eggs at Hanson supporters.
But not
and the parents sort of like, and the grandparents sort of be like, oh, good shot. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Thousands of people.
I reckon we should get into some of the stories.
Okay, now we're getting into slanderous territory.
Because the stories are good. But I think it'd be worth kind of delving into a bit of like the history of Hanson, because I feel like some of our listeners are younger, maybe weren't alive in the 90s, maybe don't know much about where Hanson came from. But Hanson started actually out as a candidate for the Liberal Party.
That's right. She was, well, famously a fish and chip shop owner. She was on Ipswich City Council.
Really soggy chips, I
for
think.
a while. It was before all of these online food reviews. So,
and she didn't do the thing of giving people an extra potato cake.
Really? Okay, that was the start of it all. Thanks, Omar. Yeah. But she was, Ipswich was one of the safest Oxley, which Ipswich is the sort of urban centre of. Oxley was one of the safest Labor seats in the country. Like, it's Bill Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's way back in the day. Like, who was like Labor leader for a long time. That was his seat. And so Pauline Hanson was a Liberal candidate there in 1996. Maybe we should say she was disendorsed as a Liberal Party candidate for making remarks that today would be seen actually as pretty mainstream.
Yeah, I was reading about this because there's a quite excellent article about fighting Hanson in the Marxist Review by Tess Liak, who's a legendary socialist activist. And in it, Tess describes that she was disendorsed for saying that Aboriginal people are a privileged class. And I was like, that's literally just the front cover of The Australian.
Yeah, that's just what the Liberals say.
The whole Voice campaign, the no referendum, the no vote in the referendum was, we don't want Aboriginal people to be privileged. And it's it just feels like this is an indication of how things have shifted.
Indeed. But if you're looking at it from the other way, like there was 20 years in Australian history where, Australia has always been a racist country. There's always very deep wells of racism. But there was 20 years in this country where, in terms of official political discourse, there was very little of the sort of racist shit that we hear all of the time now. And that came out of a wave of class struggle in the 1970s, the Ford Broadmeadows strike, where, the ruling class realised, oh, shit, we can't just get these migrants in and treat them like dirt. We have to, sort of make them feel a bit more a part of Australian society. So let's have a policy of multiculturalism. And along with that went let's just tone the racism down in official discourse anyway. Plus, internationally, Australia was trying to not just sell steel or sell iron ore, at least to Japan, but consumer goods, students and all sorts of trade. So there was we don't want to be seen as the poor white trash of Asia. So for both of those reasons, there was just a big retreat actually in the level of official racism. So it was a shock to me. I grew up and became politically active in, 80s, early 80s. It was like to hear Pauline Hanson just say blatantly racist things straight out was like, whoa.
So it
was a big deal.
She got elected in the 96 election as an independent.
That's right, yeah.
And one of the things that seems pretty clear to me, you can tell me if I'm wrong, was that so she gives this maiden speech, which is just like vitriol, racism, disgusting. But one of the things that helps push her into the national spotlight and allows for, in 97, Pauline Hanson's One Nation to form is actually the media. I read that basically every single national newspaper and local news, state newspaper, printed her maiden speech in full.
Oh, wow.
They'd chase her around to get her comments on, what other racist things she wanted to say that day.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. I've actually got a prop here. I don't know how we go on there, but yeah, this is, remember these things? Newspapers? Youngsters. So this is the sort of coverage that she would just get all the time from the mainstream press.
Can you read it out for our listeners?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Hanson, kick out the crooks. And there's a picture of Pauline Hanson looking very sort of tough. I'm going to take them on. And there's a little picture of a sort of sad-looking protester saying, love thy neighbour, all of that sort of junk, according to Murdoch. But
hate thy neighbour.
Yeah.
Especially if they're Asian.
So that was the sort of coverage that she was getting. And even the sort of mainstream press blew her up, publicised her, even though they were a little bit more critical than that. And the Liberal Party under John Howard, rather than if any of you guys get elected in the 2022 election, I'm sure the Liberal Party will be, out of its blocks pretty quickly. 2026, where are we? Doing the time warp here. Condemning you. There was no condemnation from the Liberal Party, even though this was, against their sort of previous practice. John Howard praised Pauline Hanson as an exercise, and what she was saying as an exercise in free speech. The Labor Party just basically went into witness protection about it because they would like to relate to people on a very passive basis. Oh, we don't want to lose any votes at all. So, like, when we're door knocking for Victorian socialists, it's not our mission to convert every racist, but when people say occasionally racist stuff, we often take it up. Yeah. And so look, we've just been talking about the billionaires for a couple of minutes. How do you reckon they rip us all off? One of the ways they do it, in my opinion, is divide and conquer. And that lands in a way that, Labor don't talk like that. They'll just, shush.
Yeah.
So there was no, in
No
terms of
pushback.
organised politics, there was really very little.
And so she comes in, totally shocks everybody with all of this. But, as you've said, like the Liberal Party actually take it up and all of this. And so in 97, I think that was when One Nation was formed. They are polling 15% nationally, which sounds good from our perspective right now. And then there was a 1998 Queensland election. So they get 23% of that state election. They win 11 seats. Not too long after that, it all falls apart. But let's pretend we're in 96 and you say from official society, there's no real pushback. But there was pushback from our side?
Yeah, like back... I used to, like, Friday night street stalls used to be what every socialist did. Like, socialist alternative. Every single Friday night would be in Swanston Street and petitioning, and would be in 1996. Everyone was talking about Hanson, so we were petitioning. Pretty sure it was to get Trades Hall to call a rally, something like that. And thousands of people, like heaps of people, would sign. You'd get you'd get a bit of abuse from racists as well, but everyone was just outraged. Oh my God, this is horrific. The first rally in Melbourne to try to, put that sentiment into organised form was in the middle, maybe it was July 1996, and she was scheduled to have a meeting at Melbourne Uni in the old pathology building, actually, which I thought was kind of funny. But anyway, and then in the end, because there was a protest organised, there were like 1,500 people at the protest, but they didn't turn up. They went to some secret location or whatever. The really important protest that happened in 1996 was the trade unions. Like, there was sort of a bit of community buy-in and the churches signed on and whatever, but it basically was Victorian Trades Hall Council. I don't think it was in response to our petition, but just in response to like general ferment about the issue. You guys have to do something. They'd done very little about it, but right at the end of the year in early December, they called it was just a static protest in Treasury Gardens, take a stand against racism. And it was huge, 40,000, 50,000. The effect of that, very blue collar, very migrant, and doing those Friday night stalls on the street, you noticed it instantly. Like before that rally, almost all the people who were coming up were white. They weren't the communities who were like, in the front line who were being targeted by Hanson and all the rest of it. The Friday night after that Sunday rally, we were just swamped by all of these like kids of East Asian descent, like Vietnamese kids from the flats, basically. And I was like, oh, so you've been following Pauline? And they'd just go, we fucking hate that fucking scratch your eyes or whatever. And it was just unleashed. Like, once they could see that there were tens of thousands of people that just were appalled by this, it gave them a lot of confidence to push back, which I think regardless of what we're going to, anyway.
One of my favourite examples of because in Victoria, it was one of the places where the One Nation vote didn't really break through. And presumably a bit of that has to do with the protest movement that, just was so quite incredible across Victoria. One of the ones that I read about was in Hawthorn, like the leafy suburbs of Hawthorn. They're trying to organise some meeting, some Pauline Hanson fucking branch meeting or whatever. And there's just like a couple hundred protesters and they just shut this shit down. It's imagine that happening in Hawthorn. There was actually a couple of thousand
in Hawthorn. That was in 98 because with the 1997, mixing up my years again. Yeah, she launches One Nation and tries to set up local branches, and she tries in Geelong West, and like there's 50 Hanson supporters inside the town hall. I wasn't there, but a couple of comrades were. And there's, some people say 500, maybe 1,000 anti-racist protesters, and it's very diverse, multicultural, community in Geelong West. And they're like, this is our hall. Why is it being used for this racist thing? This is appalling. And one of our comrades says, well, why don't we've got a key, let's just let ourselves in and let's have a vote. Let's have a democratic, what could be more democratic than that? Let's just have a vote. Should this racist meeting proceed? And of course, I mean, it sounds like it was chaos inside, but basically, no, we don't want this meeting to proceed. We do not want racists organising to divide this community in our community facility.
Good.
You can clear off somewhere else and do it.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. So it was May.
Where were the police and all this now?
I think just a couple of them milling around. I don't think they were super organised at that stage. They were.
Can we bring back that approach to
they were
policing?
much more organised as things wore on. So by July of that year, that Dandenong protest, and the council had organised a sort of multicultural festival, Celebrate Diversity 2 blocks away, which had like no one at it. Like everyone just streamed up to the protest that we were having to say, these racists are not welcome in like in Dandenong. Like for people not in Melbourne, like if you've ever visited Dandenong, like not the place that you'd want to organise a white supremacist meeting, basically. But you know, the so-called master race, you know, didn't bank on. There was a couple of thousand multi-generational, multi-ethnic people just turned up. The meeting went ahead, I'm pretty sure, but
it sounds like maybe went ahead covered in egg and
tomatoes. There was a lot of that. The youngsters got
the
pretty
markets nearby,
got pretty active, and like it was So and it was just this manifestation of community hatred. So that was interesting because straight away it had an impact on the opinion polls. Before that, it was all conquering Hanson. You know, she's going from strength to strength. Now she's going national. And a lot of her supporters could just sort of live in that little bubble. All of a sudden, like the week after Dandenong, it was Hobart. Like that. Here's the picture from Hobart. Oh, this is from May, actually. I've got my things mixed up. But like,
so that for the listeners, it says Hanson flees.
Incredible.
It's a bit of a Hobart character,
and
apparently.
And then a banner there saying Oxley moron.
Yeah, so it's like which of these two headlines would promote Hanson's vote? Like, you know, when all
So
the headlines are Hanson looking tough,
Yeah.
and she goes high in the polls, as soon as there's a seething mass of thousands of people saying, this is disgusting, how dare you, get out of our town, she goes down in the polls. So we had that effect. Then maybe someone in the organisation, in the Hanson organisation, thought, let's try Hawthorn, you know, the genteel burgers of Hawthorn. Yeah, they're not going to turn up. And they gave an invitation out via the Sporting Shooters Association. But not everyone who's a sporting shooter is necessarily this right-wing racist. So one of them, anyway, was the father of a comrade who lets him know, and we stick up posters all over town, you know, like Stop Hanson. And we got a crowd, like, pretty much we had the Thursday and the Friday to build it. We just went down into the train stations and stuck up posters everywhere. No one expects it. And we got a crowd of a couple of thousand to Hawthorn who just stood in front of one door and then stood in front of another door until they were standing in front of every door. The cops actually did try pretty hard, but it was before capsicum spray and shit. They had horses. Like, people were pushing back horses. And, like, eventually the cops just said, look,
there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do. They cancelled the meeting. So that they just kept on failing at their attempts to hold meetings. Straight after that Hawthorn one, I think Hanson had already organised a sort of country tour. So Sale, Echuca, Bendigo and Swan Hill. And she got chased out of Bendigo. There were hundreds of school students just chasing her all around. Me and Geordie didn't get
chased out of Bendigo.
Yeah,
just want to put that out there. They liked us in Bendigo.
Yeah, and apparently even in like Swan Hill and Echuca, like there were high school students just turning out to rampage around saying this is disgusting.
One of my favourite bits from like because you mentioned the Geelong protest, one of the things I read was that the students at the university were like outraged, like apoplectic, that the One Nation was trying to set up there, and they were like, we are not going to be the only place in Victoria where there's a far right racist party, and like we're just determined to stop like them from being able to build.
It was that sentiment was very mainstream. It was just, and again, it's sort of like the shock of, like, you know, like for me growing up in a society, of course you knew that there was racism. There's always racism around, but to have it said in the parliament and amplified in the press, which like today is just like, okay, that's an average Tuesday or whatever. It was a shock, and people respond to that. You know, it's a crisis. It's something new. So it was just like, the turnout was great. The energy was huge, and there was a lot, and it had an effect. Like it sent a message to all of her supporters. She is hated by thousands. It sent a message to all of our side. There are thousands of us standing. And it also, just in terms of them trying to set up a coherent organisation with branch structures and where they can, you know, like put out their feelers and build an army of racists.
Yeah.
They just could not do it. Like
The other thing
they
is
had
that
their own problems as well, but we certainly helped with
the
that
other
show.
thing is like it just makes it seem like this is like scandalous to be associated with, right?
Yeah.
Like when the far right can just organize unmolested, it's sort of like, oh yeah, they're just another flavor of politics. It's all just got Labour, Liberal, Greens, Communist, fascist, whatever. Whereas when there's this thing, it's like, oh, do I really want to be associated with that?
Yeah.
And clearly at that time in Australian politics, the right wasn't so kind of confident and self-righteous in the way they are now, unfortunately. But where that being associated with that kind of stuff was not where they were prepared to go at that point.
Yeah, and John Howard did a lot to change exactly that, and the sort of political dance that he did with Hanson, not explicitly endorsing her, but praising an exercise in free speech, was really effective in normalising just, it's fine to be racist, it's fine to be a bigot, to such an extent. So we're talking 96, which is when Howard got elected and when Hanson got elected. By 2005, when Howard introduced the work choices legislation, which was, stripping literally 100 years' worth of rights from Australian working class people, and all of his mates on Talkback Radio in Sydney just go on this feral kind of campaign about Cronulla Beach, and some Arab person has misbehaved on Cronulla Beach. The result of that was the Cronulla riot.
Yeah.
In the week that work choices was passed, when we should have been out in the streets rioting about that, and shutting down the country, there's a race riot on Cronulla Beach. Thank you, John Howard. That's the service that he did to the Australian ruling class. He's just, and with willing accomplices like Hanson for the first part. And then, it's a little bit complicated because the Liberals were like, that's fantastic. Thank you for all your hard work in making society a much more racist, vicious place. We don't actually appreciate the electoral challenge to us, though. So... I forget, I lose track of all of the court cases, but Tony Abbott, who was Howard's attack dog, basically got unleashed. Just find anything that you can get, legal cases against Hanson. So there was that sort of pressure as well. So they could look like, we're anti-Hanson. Nah, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, she got done for accounting, I think.
Electoral
fraud.
Which is a bit like Prince Andrew getting done for like misconduct in office. It's like, I don't think that's actually the main problem with Prince Andrew.
Al Capone and taxes, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting reading about some of the stuff with Abbott and the way that he, was put out, because it's as if this is the politics that Tony Abbott holds dear as well. But I was reading Abbott was sort of describing how it was hard for Howard, on an emotional level, for him to really push back against
you can
Hanson.
imagine.
Because
it'd be like if we were fighting.
Yeah, totally. And, Abbott says, Howard feels her supporters are the kind of people he grew up with, So it's just like, it's pretty difficult from his point of view to really take a stand against this stuff.
Yeah, but and that was he's a very God damn him, but he's a very smart and effective and calculating politician, and knew how to speak in code, which he did for all of that period. The 2001 election, we will decide who comes to this country, which got correctly called out as racism, and by a bunch of people, not by Labor, actually. There was a couple of Labor figures. Was that New South Wales right guy who said Howard if he walks like a duck, talks like a duck, he's probably a duck. He's probably a racist. And he got disowned by the Labor establishment. How dare you call the Prime Minister of this country a racist, when he was clearly just knew exactly what he was doing. And it's been effective, to the extent where now here we are 30 years later, where all of this shit is just normalised, and unfortunately can't be put back in the box in the way, and won't be put back in the box in the way that we were, quite successful in repressing the Hanson wing of the racists back in the 90s.
So let's get to that. So in this late 90s period, when me and Geordie were just small babes,
I wasn't even here, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, were you in...
Oh, I was in South Africa.
Yeah, missed all this.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's these big protests. There's this push from ordinary people, which is like, we don't fuck with these politics. We're not here for all of this racism. Then in Queensland, basically all of the people that get elected on the One Nation ticket drop out of politics or drop out of One Nation. And And then Hanson gets done for electoral fraud. And so the sort of one nation Pauline Hanson moment begins to decline. But as you've spoken about, the politics that she brought in didn't go anywhere. So, obviously a bunch of the stuff that she pushed was anti-Indigenous racism and anti-Asian racism, and, helps to really just sort of Howard's incorporation of this, it just keeps pushing and pushing to the right. Then in 2015, 2016, Hanson begins to become a figure again when there's a real introduction of Islamophobic sort of politics in that sort of moment. Then, in the meantime, Channel 7's put her on Dancing with the Stars. She's a counterterrorism expert employed by Channel 7. Do you guys remember that? Crazy.
In 2016, yeah.
Oh, 2016, yeah.
Dancing with the Stars was a bit earlier.
That was
early 2000s. But Kerry Stokes has been very consistent in his media. Like it's one of the textbook cases of billionaires foster racism, and they know what they're doing.
And war criminals and all the like.
Yeah, Ben Robert-Smith covering his costs. Why not? Yeah.
So we've gone through in this sort of intervening period racism towards refugees, racism towards Muslims, extreme Islamophobia,
Indigenous people. Like Howard's whole thing about the black armband view of history and all that.
And then we get ourselves to today, where we're seeing the polls. Like I said before, it's like 15% nationally in 97. We sort of, you'd be like, oh, I'd be happy with that now. Like the polls that are coming out are like 30% in Victoria.
No, that was New South Wales. 30%.
30% in a Roy Morgan poll that just came out today. So what do people think? Like, what is the difference between now and then? How can Hanson go from this buffoon who gets done for, electoral fraud to one nation in the two-party preferred in New South Wales are basically beating Labor?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question. Interesting to see what Jerome thinks. But, I think the world has just moved on a lot. Like, the 90s was the peak of capitalism, like neoliberal, Western, what do they call it? The rules-based order, all that crap, like Bill Clinton and the free trade agreements. And so within all that, there was always a kind of racist hard right edge behind. But it wasn't really their time. It was sort of the time of the establishment to really dig their heels in and just make a lot of money for the people who mattered. Howard absorbed her, but he did so in a way that was like, it's sort of incrementally built, And so the end of Howard, so the refugee thing grows and grows to the point where he's accusing them, parents of throwing their kids in the water to drown. And then the intervention is a big deal, like putting like a white liberal staffer on the ABC and saying that he's an Aboriginal or they're an Aboriginal person who's seen all this sexual assault and violence. Like we're getting increasingly deranged here. So that's the thing that creates a whole generation of very hard racists and confirms really the Hansonists of the earlier era. But then Labor's in and that kind of delays things a bit. There's a bit of a pause. There's lots of racism. They're still treating refugees badly, but it's just a different thing. And then I think Abbott really just accelerates it again. And so now the world, and now we have Trump, so the world has just gotten more and more in this direction over time.
Yeah.
And I think now the far right don't think, oh, there was a couple of thousand people out the front of our meeting, we're isolated. They think, well, we run America, we're running Italy, we're close to running France, who the fuck are these losers? It's like a totally different relationship of power to where they were in the 90s.
Yeah, I think you guys have covered it quite well. Like, Pauline might have been defeated, but her politics weren't. They were absorbed by the Liberals. We're seeing a lot of the same things even within the Liberal Party now that we saw back then. But there are so many Liberals praising her, like Hasty being like, oh yeah, big fan kind of thing. And I think, because her politics didn't leave and the situation has gotten so much worse internationally and here, it's going to be, the Liberals are going to have, they're doing the same thing right now. Like it was a couple of days ago that one of the campaign managers was just done for electoral fraud. Yeah. Like the exact same fucking thing.
Of the One Nation people.
Yeah, well, I can't remember which state. Does anyone
I can't remember.
We'll find it somewhere. But yeah, like the same things are happening. The situation globally and here is a lot worse. It's going to be kind of scary I reckon.
Yeah, and we're 30 years of neoliberalism, and sort of we post neoliberal now, but it's like, you know, we've had this boom period.
Neoliberal noir.
Yeah, something. I don't know what to call it, but we've had these boom periods. But you know, housing, no, forget about it. Healthcare, if you're lucky, like so much of what people just grew up with is gone. So there's all of that. There's 30 years of failing to fight that from Labor and the union. So there's more just demoralised, disoriented people around. I mean, the base of Hanson is still like the middle class. There's a sort of, because it's all, you know, I'm my own small business, I've pulled myself up by my bootstraps, you know, it's a bit more war of all against all. There's that, you know, the world's just dog eat dog. So that's always been her base and still is, but that ethos can become a lot more dominant. But I think the fundamental thing really is like the billionaires, like it's just obvious looking at the billionaires in this country, they have just turned decisively. They're not just flirting with Hanson. Reading Tesliak's really excellent article in Marxist Left Review that you mentioned, like they promoted Hanson, but then when she was getting a bit too big for her boots and they wanted to rein her in, you know, the Herald Sun actually said, no, it's all a bit too much. There's none of that now. And I think Trump is like in a bunch of ways the really fundamental factor.
Yeah.
Like none of this, we have to get along with the rest of the world. We have to pretend to be anti-racist. Like the most powerful country in the world, the head of the most powerful country in the world, there's just no pretense anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, we're going to discriminate. We're going to keep some people out. We're going to, you know, like all of that is just sort of licensed. And that didn't happen, you know, like I think a lot of us who came through like, you know, mobilisations against the right in the 90s, like against the National Front, actually just, you know, up Sydney Road, in the 90s, against Hanson in the late 90s, Reclaim Australia in the 2010s.
Yeah.
Like I know for myself, it was kind of confronting, realising, shit, like you can protest all you want and we should protest. You know, it matters to get numbers out to say, no, not everyone's a racist. There's support that, for anti-racist positions and so on, but it's not going to have the same effect.
Yeah.
It's not like the amount of terror, the scenes of terror that we've seen out of Minneapolis and the United States in the last, you know, while from ICE agents abducting people. It's not like that came about because some radicalised street movement took power like the 20s or 30s. It came about through electoral means, through radicalisation of the existing you know, deranged right-wing Republican Party, and we're seeing versions of that all over the world. So none of it is, unfortunately, going to be put back in its box just by, you know, like we should do the street protests, they matter, but they're not going to play the same role.
So the way I think about it is what's happening in Australia right now is a catch-up with the situation internationally. So people have rightly mentioned Donald Trump and the way that Trump can just give this sense of political confidence to the far right internationally. You've got the guy, like as people said, the most powerful office in the world, saying your politics are the right ones and these are the ones that are ruling the world right now. Then in the UK, the rise of reform, the collapse of the Tories, the patheticness and right-wing nature of the Labour Party. In Italy, the far right have also taken power. And, you know, you can go through the plethora of countries all across Europe, Germany. The fucking fascists in France had a minute of silence in their favour because a fucking fascist was, you know, died or whatever. And now they're marauding and marching through the streets. So for a long time, Australian politics has felt like isolated from a lot of that stuff. Like Omar said, like Labor being in power can sort of dull and delay things. But that's not the case anymore. And I think the point about Hanson is going with the stream in that sort of way is really, really important. And then so all of these people who are already kind of prone to right-wing politics vote for the Conservatives or voted for United Patriot Front, what are they called? Trumpet of Patriots, or voted for Family
Liberals,
First.
Liberals.
Yeah, the Liberals, exactly.
Plenty of them voted Liberals.
They have got this person who is no holds barred, sort of just like, yeah, fuck them all, fuck everybody, fuck Asian people. You know, they go on, they say fuck working class people, they say fuck the Labor Party, and they'd love it. You know,
I mean, they genuinely believe that the current Labor Party is socialist. Like, like they really believe that and the Greens are communist.
Telling them that they are.
So it's like, so this is a deranged kind of group of people. I think one of the things that's like significant, I think, is like so much of the internet is dominated by America, And we experience that on the left a lot. So we get this rubbish identity politics, celebrity fads, influencers, all that kind of culture, which we fight against here. But then the right gets that as well. And so like what the right consume used to be conservative Australia's always had a hard right, It's not as if we had to import fascism, but like there's this hard right in Australia that's like nationalist, flag waving, kind of crap like that, racist. But the insanity of the American right, I think, is definitely part of the picture here. That it's been imported, it's been spread. COVID clearly was a big part of that, but not the whole picture, but a big radicalizing element for a lot of small business and some working class people, but like really small business people who felt so annoyed that they couldn't do their cafes and hairdressing and small construction firms and whatever. So that American influence on the right, I think, is an example of how the globalization of the far right is a phenomenon that's unfolding as well.
And I think it's really important because I think that there can be a desire amongst left-wing people to want to downplay what's happening with the Hanson stuff or just not a real recognition of it. And so I've spoken to people who feel like, for example, the March for Australia stuff, like that's the far right today. And obviously it is really bad and it is, an expression of the far right politics here that, you can get 10,000 people in Melbourne last year in August or whenever it was. Led by Nazis. But this is not the main way that the far right organises, and it's not the most significant impact on politics either. I think the fact that you've got it would be hundreds of thousands of people across the country who say that they want to vote. Is that right?
Millions.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're over 20%.
Yeah.
I'm just not that au fait with maths.
Yeah, for a lot of people.
But that's where the significance is. And so Jerome's right. Like the protests are really important. We want to try and push them back in different places that we can. But we're not going to be able to defeat the current expression of the far right through just only the far left mobilizing on the streets, as important and essential as that is. We actually need to start building up like alternative sort of political forces that can inspire people. And I think it's anti-system politics that we need to build. We need to inspire people that anti-capitalist politics is the answer to all the fucking bullshit that exists in the world. And so like actually building up the left to be bigger is a central part of that. And then so where does the far right exist? It exists on the streets. It exists in electoral spaces. We need to be able to confront the far right in both sort of spheres of life sort of thing.
Totally. And they really thrive off despair. Like that's their whole thing. It's like the system is fucked. You hate them all. Vote Hanson, give them a big fuck you, and similar in America. And then socialists are about building a politics of hope that, yes, the world can be different, but it's about linking up with your fellow workers and all the oppressed around the world. Understand who the real problem is. It's the billionaires. It's not these people coming here trying to, get a better life, trying to avoid a civil war or a crisis in their own country. We're just trying to live and raise a family like everyone else. That argument is an argument that relies on our capacity to actually prove in practice that you can have a better life. Obviously, our maximum goal is, socialism, but even just winning, like the occasional victory where you can improve the healthcare system, the education system, win some rights for some people. That's the kind of stuff that can begin to give people confidence that, yeah, there's another way to go. And there is a socialist answer to this problem. Because as long as capitalism exists, this is going to come back.
Totally.
Look at the 1930s, the Holocaust, these horrors that everyone learns about at school that are held up as this like just unimaginable thing, and they are. And it seems so obvious. So, well, obviously that would never happen again. Like we've all learned from that. Humanity's moved on. And yet here we are now, the far right are about to be in government across Europe, and they're in government in America, and, who knows what happens in Australia. So the system of capitalism is to blame, and so we need to build a movement that can actually end that. Otherwise, really, we're just tinkering around the edges and, moving our ships on the Titanic, moving our chairs on the Titanic or whatever.
And I think as well, like one element of that in the here and now is having a politics that is kind of combative and it isn't afraid of hate, actually. Like, you turn up, and I know that you've run in the northern suburbs, Omar. Like, you turn up on doorsteps in Broadmeadows or, Roxburgh Park or Craigieburn or Meadow Heights or whatever. Like, if you're just saying, oh, we're for nice things, like, it doesn't cut through. Like, being able to say, it is disgusting that the billionaires just keep doubling their money every few years. They've got the main parties in their back pocket. Why don't we try doubling education, healthcare? Everything in this world is just upside down. Like, you can go big and like, because people know that the system isn't working for them, and Hanson and Trump and all of those people have got into situations of power. Like, they're absolute phonies and frauds, and billionaires themselves are willing tools of the billionaires, but they prey on people's knowledge of, we are just being fucked over here. We have to reflect that and direct it against the real enemies.
I think that's really important because, for one thing, Labor are not going to do anything to push back against the rise of Hanson. In fact, like, Peter Malinowskis.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
He, well, you should tell us, Geordie.
Yeah, Pauline Hanson's got a vision about what migration should look like, which is like, fuck all migrants. I don't want any of them here. I'm just, a classic racist. Oh. But then, and Labor's got to respond to this electoral challenge from the right as well. And then so they're presenting their vision, because like we've spoken a lot about how Labor won't do anything or Labor will delay it or whatever. Like, this is the representation of that. Labor wants migration. Pauline Hanson wants no migration, but Labor wants migration for, having...
Let him speak.
Yeah, you know what?
Words.
Fucking let him say it, yeah.
To One Nation voters is, who's going to feed you and bathe you and wipe your bum when you're 90? Right? Because it ain't going to be your kids. Because if I get my way, they're going to be working on submarines. With high-paying jobs, so they can afford to own their home.
Yeah, so like, that's enough. Fuck him. So it's like, not only, like, because he said, because we've spoke about this before in an episode about Zach Polanski, but he says the quiet bit even louder.
So much louder.
Like, more explicit. He's like, not only, we want them to do the shit jobs, to hyper exploit them and whatever, but we're going to be rich while they do it.
Yeah, they'll be low paid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll be like, we are going to hyper exploit them compared to us, because we're going to be, working on submarines, going to kill working class people in other countries and whatever. And we're going to be paid really fucking well while they do those shit jobs. Like, that's the message. That's the vision, the positive vision.
But also, it just sort of seems like he said the high-paying jobs thing because he realised he sounded like a fucking sociopath.
Totally.
If I have my way, your kids are going to be fucking working and not looking after you. And then, and we'll also give them some money while we do it.
It's just, what an appalling vision for, like, Australia is this heavily armed sort of Israel for the South Pacific, projecting imperial will, via...
So then,
the most sophisticated killing machines that humans have ever devised, while a low-paid migrant workforce,
wipes
looks after the old folks.
So then
that's modern Labor. Disgusting.
That's Malinowska's direct fucking, like, he says, my message to One Nation voters. That's like the direct, like, that's Labor's direct
argument. Do you want servants? We want you to have servants.
Yeah, it's so fucking disgusting. But then also, I think one of the things that's quite remarkable about the current situation is the way that the Greens are not having any boost in support from the collapse in the sort of political norms sort of thing. And I think part of the reason for that can be is because the stuff that you and Jerome and Omar, you've been talking about, and Geordie there too, we want to put forward an argument that, there is fucking people to blame for what's going on here. The bosses are to blame for how terrible society is. The bosses and the government want to create a situation where there's no housing and there's mass inequality. We go to war and build submarines. Our message against that is fuck. Like, we want to build a totally different type of world. And you can imagine if there was a socialist politics that had a national profile, the way that you could actually win people to a better type of politics, away from such a terrible type of politics. And I think what we're living through is not a time for moderate politics. We're living through a time for radical politics, and we need radical left politics, anti-system, anti-capitalist politics. And I think that's one of the things that can sort of start to win people to a vision that you can defeat the far right.
Yeah, I think, like, you covered it quite well with the anti-system stuff. It's like the polls are showing that there is a rejection of the system between, Liberal and Labor, who literally are the system. and then this party that pretends to be anti-system but is literally just taking the system as it exists to its farthest extreme. And like I think even Max Chandler Mather wrote about this, where he's like the thing about immigration, the fact that they can keep going on about immigration is because it's probably the one thing that Labor and Liberals haven't privatised. Like it is a system that the government can literally control the levers on and everything like that. But people aren't going from like, it's a choice between the system and an anti-system party, but people aren't choosing the Greens because people know, as we've been saying, that the Greens aren't against the system. Like we want to completely destroy the system and build a new one where we can all live decent lives. And the Greens don't want to do that. They reckon they can fix it. And that's why we're not getting a massive support for the Greens, even though they do reject the politics of one nation and whatever when it comes to migrants and everything. And yeah, so I reckon we're the answer.
I think go on, Joe.
Well, I reckon too. Like, if your model is basically you should care more about brown people and people from other countries. Like, it's trouble. We should have a more caring society. Like again, there's a lot of working class anti-racists out there. I do not want to propagate some myth that Broadmeadows is some seething bastion of one nation. So it's just not. But there are demoralised members of the working class that fall into that shit. And if you're on their doorstep saying, "Oh, just care a bit more," no one gives a fuck about me. And you're saying, "I should care." Whereas if you can turn that outwards against the real enemies, like there's some potential for that. I think it's a lot of work to make the most of that potential. I think, like in terms of a nationwide, we're going to roll one nation back. No, but we can demonstrate what is possible on a larger scale than the socialist left has been able to do in this country for a long time. And yeah, look, I'm talking about the electoral sphere, which has been so crucial for the rise of the far right in France, now in Britain, Italy, the US,
Hungary, Poland.
Just keep rolling, because and so to be able to demonstrate we can win support for a radical vision of something totally different and a totally different sort of politics that blames every problem in society where they belong, with their billionaires and their agents and their backers and their apologists, Labor and Liberal. I think it's a really important project that we've got this year. And there's reasons for hope. Like, if we're talking about immigration, for the Democrats, gently, people should care more, don't talk about immigration. Like the people of Minneapolis have just demonstrated, you can generate mass support for opposition to the most gross racism, that Trump is trying to unleash. You can draw that out of working class people. You can't just sort of conjure that at will, but like that potential is there for this foul racism to actually backfire in some way at the system. Now, there's no formula for that, but I do feel like the project that Victorian Socialists has launched itself on is one pretty important component of that. It's going to be really important and exciting year, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's right. And so there's a whole bunch of different things that we want to do to sort of respond to the rise of Hanson. One is that we actually want to go into areas around Melbourne and sort of talk to people about what's wrong with
what they're saying,
the politics
what they
of one
represent.
nation. So people should actually get involved in Victorian Socialists because in the coming weeks we're going to be launching more of the sort of campaign that we want to have against Hanson, and people should help us build that.
Riding out the party line.
Well, that was really nice to have Omar and Jeremy
for a brief moment. Back to reality.
Let us know if you want Omar back for the intro and outro next time.
Yeah, we'll consider your this is not a democracy. We'll consider it.
Someone in the comments said dude on the left needs to chill.
Dude on the right.
Oh,
actually.
dude on the right. Sorry.
Stage I don't know which one's stage left. Yeah.
I don't think Omar he was very chill in
He's
this
pretty
episode.
chill. Yeah. I mean, he's usually pretty chill. Yeah.
But please share the episode with your friends. And like we said just before, like more people need to get involved in the fight for socialist politics, for anti-capitalist politics. So if you like this podcast, join the Socialists.
Yeah, socialist.org.au, wherever you are in this country. Coming soon to a country near you.
Ciao.